J'ai appris un truc avec mon premier mariage, parce qu'un mariage réussi, ça se réveille pas. Ça devrait pas. Ça doit pas être qu'une corvée. Ça doit rester quelque chose qu'on attend avec impatience.
Fanny Moreau?
J'ai croisé un type que j'avais pas revu depuis le lycée. Genre, il impact, tu m'as reconnu.
Je t'aurais reconnu n'importe où, j'étais fou de toi à l'époque. C'est incroyable de tomber sur toi.
Je me demande, s'il m'avait dit que je lui plaisais, qu'est-ce qui se serait passé? J'aurais peut-être une vie très différente. Pourquoi? T'as envie d'avoir une vie différente?
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Je sais pas pourquoi je t'appelle.
T'es avec qui au téléphone?
Comme ça?
Bah là, tout à l'heure, je t'ai entendu, t'avais l'air toute stressée.
Qu'est-ce que je suis en train de faire? Pourquoi je pensais toi tout le temps?
Ma chérie, tu devrais être flattée d'avoir un mari qui te considère comme un trésor.
T'es toute seule?
Seule avec mon journal, mais...
T'es heureuse dans ton couple?
Je croyais oui, mais je sais plus. Qu'est-ce que tu es en train de faire? Je culpabilise, c'est atroce.
J'ai essayé de me persuader que c'est juste une aventure, que j'aime toujours Jean.
Tu es toujours sûre qu'il n'y a rien de suspect.
Je commence à m'inquiéter, là. J'espère que t'es pas en train de sous-entendre ce que je crains.
Vous êtes bien sûr de vouloir savoir la vérité? Si je suis sûr.
In Australian cinemas from December 26 is Coup de Chance, the 50th film from American master Woody Allen. He has no idea what a thrill this is for me to talk to him. So welcome to Screen Watching, sir.
Thank you. I'm happy to speak with you.
That's very nice of you. In the film Coup de Chance, let's jump straight into the themes of luck as they're presented in the film. There's a wonderful line in the film: we'd like to be able to control everything, but in reality, we have very little control. You've riffed on religion and philosophy since your stand-up days, but does Woody Allen really believe it is luck, good or bad, that dictates the course of our lives?
I think it plays a huge part. It's not 100% luck, of course, but it plays a much bigger part than people care to admit, because it is a little scary to think that you don't have control of things, and if you practice something, you'll be good at it, or if you learn something, you'll be good. If you work hard, there'll be a payoff, and it's important to do these things because to some extent, this is so. If you work hard, there's a chance that things will go well for you. You'll achieve your goal. But a big part of it too is luck. You have to be lucky as well. If you're unlucky, for example, it's easy to see it that way. If you're unlucky, it's no matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter because you need a couple of breaks in there to really flower.
How much
to eliminate all attempts at discipline and hard work, but you can only do so much, and if things go bad for you, they go bad.
How much was luck a part of your early career? Because the ambition it took for a 15-year-old to send jokes to the grade A boroughs and the talent that he recognized in them, that was all you, wasn't it?
I had a tremendous amount of luck. First off, I was lucky that I could make people laugh. If I didn't have that odd talent that nobody in my family has, no ancient relatives, no, not my parents, not my grandparents, for some strange reason, I could make people laugh. I could write funny, and I could perform amusingly to people. If I didn't have that, I don't know what I would have been. I was thrown out of school. I don't know what I would have done for a living. So that was good luck right away. And then and I worked very hard. I'm not saying I didn't, but all my hard work was also supplemented by catching the breaks. I always seemed to be in the right place at the right time, and people chose when I started to emphasize my strong points and what I was good at rather than my bad points. There were many of them, but people didn't, they overlooked them. They harped on my good points. And I've had, look, my health has been good. I'll be 88 in a couple of days, and I've never been in a hospital. My father lived to 100. My mother lived to almost 100. I mean, this is genes, but if there's anything in genes, then I'm lucky, and I've always been lucky. So, what can I say? When I needed to go into the film business, just at that time, a company that no company would take a chance on me, suddenly a company emerged of inexperienced film people, and they had no choice but to settle for someone like me. And they gave me a break, and they just happened to be there when I was there. And this happened to me, down the line. I can give you a million examples. When I was making Match Point, one of my favorite movies of mine, and I don't have too many favorites, but that is one. At the last minute, I had Kate Winslet in a part, and she dropped out because she wanted to spend more time with her children, which is understandable. She had been working picture after picture. And I had only a few days, and just by luck, Scarlett Johansson was free. She had just that time period, she wasn't doing anything, and she was on a plane within 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
She could have said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just signed for another movie," or something. But no, everything just fell into place. My whole life has been that way, and I'd like it to continue.
That would be wonderful.
I would rather be lucky than good.
Well, that's a wonderful line from Match Point, wasn't it? That was one of the great lines from Match Point.
Yes, I would rather be lucky than good, because if you're good and you're not lucky, you can be run over by a truck. And
exactly
if you're lucky and not good, you can do a bad piece of work and get rich on it, as one sees all the time in the movie business.
That's exactly right. Yes, far too often. Let me ask you about shooting in Paris, and this may be too fanciful a notion on my part, but when shooting in the great cities like Paris or like Barcelona for Vicky Cristina, or in Rome for To Rome with Love, do the legacies left behind by the filmmaking greats whose films have shaped my love of cinema, your love of cinema, do they have any influence on your creativity in those moments?
Yes, a big influence. I'm still, at my age, I still have idols that I look up to, and those great European filmmakers formed much, if not practically all, of my goals in cinema. I was crazy about the French filmmakers. I loved, in Spain, I was crazy about Buñuel. I was crazy about the Italian filmmakers, Fellini and De Sica and Antonioni, all these people. And when you're in there and you hear their language all the time, it's a invigorating thing, and wonderful and stimulating, and it's exciting. And I think the French film, Coup de Chance, I made in French. So I felt, my God, after all these years of wanting to be a European filmmaker, I'm now a European filmmaker. I'm making films in Europe, or at least one film in Europe, in a foreign language, just like Truffaut did, or Godard, or René, or those people that I was so crazy about. So, yes, in answer to your question.
While we're talking about the great European masters, I have to ask you about the artist you work alongside, Vittorio Storaro. Coup de Chance is your fifth film with the great man. It's breathtakingly lovely to look at. Tell me about the trust you put in his eye.
Well, I've always worked with great cinematographers,
Mm.
and not when I very first started, but as soon as I really realized what movies were about and how to make them a little more professionally than my first couple, I started working with Gordon Willis, who was one of the great American photographers. And I worked with him for
Yes, he is.
10 years. And we did many pictures together. And he was a great master, a great master. And I worked with Vilmos Sigmund, and I worked with Sven Nykvist, and I worked with Carlo De Palma, and what's his name, the wonderful French one, Darius Kanji. I mean,
Of course, yes.
you know, yeah, I mean, these guys are all great. And then finally, you know, Vittorio and I hooked up, and of course we like working with each other. He enjoys working with me, and I enjoy working with him. And you know, he's a great filmmaker. But as I say, I've been very fortunate over my years making films to have always significantly worked with great cinematographers.
Yes, you certainly have, and it shows in all your works. Your passion for cinema, and you touched on it previously, it's always inspired me. I love listening to you, and cast your mind back to you and Pauline Kael discuss Mean Streets and Thieves Like Us on her show from back in 1974, presented by Mobile Oil. I've listened. You can listen to it on the internet, and it's wonderful. And I still read the long form film analysis that Pauline or Andrew Sarris did so well. You're getting some of your best reviews in years for Coup de Chant, but how do you generally see the state of contemporary film criticism?
Well, it's a good question. It's commensurate, I think, with what's happened to the film business. You know, in every area, whether you're a film director, a film critic, a brain surgeon, a policeman, there are some that are great, absolutely great, a small amount. There are some that are terrible, that manage to have careers, you know, improbably, but they do. And most are basically in the middle. They're decent, and they're, you know, they try hard and they're good. They do some good films, some bad films, some good criticism, some bad criticism. And I see it that way now. There are, you know, I don't read a lot of criticism because the film, and it's not wanting to read criticism, but there's not, the film business has changed so much. When I was younger, during the years of Pauline Kael and Andrew Sarris and those film critics, you know, there were tons of cinemas all over New York, and all the European films played in these cinemas every week. A film from Sweden came, a film from France or Italy, and there were some very fine American films because we were kind of emulating the sensitivity of the European filmmakers. Now it's a different story. Now you make a film and it goes to television right away, or you lucky if you get 2-3 weeks in a cinema. Sure. People are staying home and watching their films on television. Movie houses all over New York have closed mostly. All the nice art cinemas that you go see, you know, and some of the revival houses, because you used to, if you wanted to see a Charlie Chaplin film or an old John Ford film or Orson Welles, you'd go to certain movie houses, and it was a communal experience, and it was great. Now you just punch a button and Citizen Kane comes on in your living room or your bedroom. And so the state of criticism, you know, is commensurate with that. I mean, the film business has taken a big hit in its presentation to the public. And so, you know, when a film opens, people, I know this from colleagues, they don't run to the corner newsstand and get the newspapers and get the magazines and turn on the television set and see what the critic said. That's not what happens. They, you know, there's a more apathetic feeling, and they know, you know, in 2 weeks they're going to be streaming on television, and
Sure.
there just isn't that same. But the quality of the perception of critics and the writing of critics, I feel, is proportionately what it always was. There's some terrific ones. Most of them are bread and butter guys. Judith Chris, the critic in New York, who was a friend of mine, said to me years ago, I am a ticket buyer's guide.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I'm not looking to make deep, incisive, insights and profound psychological or philosophical insights. I'm trying to guide the average person. Don't see this film, you'll be bored, or it starts off nicely, but becomes boring in the end or stupid in the end.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing.
I want to ask finally, you've mentioned that Coup de Chance may be your last film, that 50 is a nice round number to bow out on. In your film Interiors, Diane Keaton's character, Renata, she says, what am I striving to create? For what purpose? What goal? Do you have an answer for those questions at this point in your life, in your career?
I always used creativity for two purposes. Certainly to make a living, I mean, as fundamental as that, and for distraction. I feel there's no solution to the terrible predicament of existence. Existence I've always found to be basically a nightmare that we dress up and try and sugarcoat as much as we can, but it's not a really delightful business. And it has oases of charm and of delight, but these are oases in a desert of grim existential, loneliness and tribulation. And so I've always used creativity, apart from, again, setting my table, for distracting me. If I get up in the morning and I'm writing and I'm thinking, how am I going to get something good for the final scene of this movie? And I'm shooting a picture and I think, where to put the camera? How will I make this scene more exciting? How can I, then I'm obsessed all day long with solvable problems. And if I can't solve the problems, I don't die. I mean, it's not so terrible. I make a bad movie. That's the bad end of it. But so what? Whereas your existential problems, are lethal. And so in order not to obsess day after day on what we go through as human beings and the sadness of human life, the tragedy of human life, and how we kill each other and treat each other, and how the lifespan treats us, and in order not to obsess over all these awful things, I'd rather obsess over is that dress look good on Scarlett Johansson? That will, that's a better problem to be preoccupied with. And so that's why I've done films my whole life. And if I didn't do films, I would probably be sitting home writing a play or writing a book or a short story and obsessing over my third act curtain or my the end of my story. Does it flower at the end?
That's a wonderful answer. That's the Woody Allen I love. That's the man I grew up listening to, and it's great to hear that response.